Hey, Cal, you know how much I love a good podcast, and not just because we host one.
Me too. Love a good podcast. My personal version of therapy is putting on a podcast and roaming the aisles of Marshall's.
Oh, yeah. You taught me that trick. The podcast that I've been roaming the aisles at Marshall's with lately is the Land Development Podcast with Ryan Glick. I'm kind of addicted.
Me too. And lucky for us, we have Ryan Glick in the house today. Ryan is also the co-founder and CEO of Groov, which is a software platform, which we will get into in a little bit. Welcome to Smith Lane,
Welcome.
Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we know the podcast version of Ryan, but we want to get to know the real Ryan just a little bit. Give us a little info on where you're from, who you are. Go for it.
Yeah, well, the short of it is, born and raised in the state of Iowa, and that's where I'm located at today. Very, very typical upbringing, but really got started into technology early on in life. And, that's really been one of the big things that's driven me. I've been so interested in all sorts of things, technology. We'll get into some of the details of how I got into it and everything later, but yeah, just really, really very much inside of the technology space. And I'm still here in Iowa today.
Love it. I was thinking of you the other day. I was scrolling on LinkedIn. I knew we were going to record this episode. Iowa is the number one state in the United States that it takes the shortest amount of time to save money to buy a home. The average amount of time was 8.5 years to save money to buy a home in Iowa. So you're in a good spot, Ryan.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Great state to be.
All right. So we know you're a tech guy, but how in the heck did you land up in the land development industry?
Because as we know, tech and land development typically doesn't go together.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very true. So, it really starts out with a buddy of mine and me. We work together in our day jobs, and, we talk to each other about doing, starting a business together. And both of us, our whole careers have been, revolving around, finding business problems and solving them. And so we knew that we wanted to start a software company, but you can't just go build software and expect people to buy it. You have to have a problem. You have to have people who are willing to, pay for that problem to be solved with software. And so we started working with a ton of different small businesses in different industries, trying to see if there was some sort of, problem that we could actually solve. And we came across a home builder here in central Iowa. They were looking for a way to show all of the lot inventory from the market on their website. So that way prospective buyers could see what lots were available for them to build a house on. And so because half of their customers came to them with a floor plan, the other half came to them with a particular location they wanted to be. So they were trying to find a way to be able to serve half of those customers who were looking for a spot to actually select and build. So we got introductions from that builder to some of the developers in our market, and we started trying to figure out, okay, how do we solve this problem? And we quickly found out that the developers were managing their lot inventory in spreadsheets. And so if this builder was going to be able to see what lots were available, we needed to get that data out of spreadsheets. And so that's really where it started. My business partner in this, he comes from a background of, being in the development industry because his parents were farmers for many years and big landowners, and they've done a bunch of development projects. So he had a little bit of that background, but really it was just all around trying to solve problems for a builder. And we just happened to find our way in the industry and everything. And here we are, 5 or 6 years later, still going strong.
Yeah, you guys really started this in the heart of COVID. That's interesting too. Maybe you had some extra time.
Well, it's one of those moments where more people were willing to talk, I feel like, at that time, because so when we were early on in this process, we had a bunch of discovery to do. So we had to we wanted to talk to as many people in the industry as possible to understand, how do you, not just developers, but people who work with developers, even the end consumers who are looking for homes, trying to understand how they search today, how do they find things. And we found that during that time, it was beginning of 2021, really where we were doing a bunch of discovery. And there's just pretty much everybody was saying yes. And so it worked out well for us at that time.
Yeah, for sure. So the software that we're talking about is called Groov. I want to make sure we make that really clear for all of our listeners. And Groov, there's really two main parts to it. You kind of talked about the lot management side. Talk to us about the land acquisition side that exists with Groov also.
Yep, the land acquisition side came a little bit later. So we, initially we were solving a problem that in the land development industry, you think about the workflow that happens. they need to find land, and then you have to go through and get it entitled. And you basically work through the process until you have a plat that you get, approved by the city. We were only operating at the tail end of that. So they had a plat that had already been engineered, and we would then load it into our platform, and they would be able to manage the lot inventory after that. We started getting customers asking us about helping them earlier in the process, in the acquisition side. And so with that, we ended up standing up another platform that focused on the acquisition side. So giving our customers the ability to, find out owner information about various parcels, being able to track some of the research that they're doing, being able to keep track of conversations with landowners. And I think that was the biggest thing, because there's quite a few land acquisition platforms out there, especially when we were starting this. There were different platforms being used, but the key thing we were trying to do when we stood this up was around the organization side, because you could go see owner information on parcels on a bunch of different platforms, but what we wanted to do was make sure that as you reached out to landowners, you could keep track of that in the platform. So that way you have a running history on a parcel. You can upload documents or photos that you may take of a property, and they're all there living on the map with that parcel. And so that was really our focus there. And so, at this point we have the lot management side, but then we also have the land acquisition side.
Yeah, when I was looking into Groov, so what I do at On Place Collective and a lot of our services were like post lots, well, not always, but I do welcome centers for our clients, right? So lots have been developed. People are coming into our welcome centers. They want to learn about what lots are available, all of that. So to me, the lot management side makes so much sense, because we're constantly looking on websites to be like, this is available. The land acquisition side of your business was newer to me. I didn't know that a lot of other platforms existed like that, where different people could go somewhere and be like, oh, this guy from this state put notes on this piece of land. Am I understanding correctly that that's kind of what the platform can tell you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you had historically was you had a lot of people there's a lot of hunting apps out there that people would use for this purpose, right? Because if you're going to be out hunting, you need to know who owns the land so you can reach out to them and see if they'll allow you to hunt their land.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you would end up, I think Onyx Hunt or Onyx, I'm not sure. It's Onyx. That's probably one of the bigger mobile apps that people would use, and they wouldn't just use it for hunting. They were using it to understand land ownership and things like that. So we were trying to be more specific to the development community so that they could do some other things besides just understanding who owns the piece of land.
So is this like an internal, like I can see it only if I, or is it public where everybody can see it?
It's something where you would, if you had an account and you were on the platform using it, you would be able to access the ownership information, and any team members who also were on your account would be able to see, the work that you're doing as well.
Awesome. And all that stays private to me and my team.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
That's what I was saying to Ryan the other day. I was like, the acquisition part is the part to me with talking with our clients that is like the standout piece.
Yeah, and we know a lot of land act guys, and it's like, here's your folder of information, right? Your paper folder of information on, like, you've printed everything out. So that seems pretty cool.
And do you have to get landowners willing to participate to upload that information, or do you guys just gather stuff and build a database on your own?
So we have a data provider that we use, and so they have coverage across the entire country. So we're able to provide information. It's all public. It's basically all public data. There's some other, research data inside there too that's commingled with, it helps enrich kind of that profile of the owner and of the parcel itself. But it's basically full coverage. We're not going out and getting the actual data from the various counties and everything.
Are you leaning into AI?
Definitely, yes. We definitely are. I think it's, AI is really interesting right now, because I've been pretty outspoken about what I think AI should be used for and what it should not be used for. I think a lot of people disagree with me on it, because I think a lot of people want to use AI for everything. I still feel like communication with customers, communication with people should not be AI driven. But at the same time, you'll have somebody else who will go and make 1,000 phone calls using AI and reach out to all these different people that, if you're going to do it manually, is going to take you a long time. So you're trying to compete with people who are doing it differently. But I still very much believe that we should use AI to improve processes, do things that aren't very rewarding for people to do, just busy work, things like that. But when it comes to communication with other people, whether it's emails or, text messages or whatever it is, I'm just not very big on AI with that. And maybe I'll be proven wrong that this was a bad take that I had right now, but it's not something we're doing right now as far as the communication side, but we're definitely leaning into AI to help us with building software.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When we started, AI wasn't there. So we built our platform without AI. We built it, we did it ourselves. But now, seeing how good AI is at some of the software development, you really have to lean into some of those things. But again, it's the behind the scenes busy work that's happening. It's not interacting with customers.
I agree with you 100%. I think that interacting with customers is relationships, right? And like that just needs to be on the human level.
Yeah.
But I like the way you said AI. Let's see, how did you state that? You said that AI is good for the processes or maybe that busy work that is really boring.
It's not rewarding.
It's not rewarding. Yes, not rewarding. I think that's a smart take.
Yeah. And I feel rewarded when I come up with a funny insider line on an email that I send to somebody. So I don't need AI to write that.
Right.
One other thing I want to add on this too, because it's something I'm seeing more of happen in the industry. And I might hurt some people's feelings who are doing this today, but
that's okay. Give
go
us
for
the hot
it.
take.
There are companies that are standing up now and even products that are adding features that will handwrite letters for you. And I've always been a big handwritten note person because it's the time it takes to do that is meaningful to people. And what you have happening right now in the industry is you have, I don't know how big they are, but you have these warehouses that have robots in them that are handwriting. So it's real pens following real motions. It might even be mimicking your handwriting. And these are being sent out in the thousands to landowners. And it's so basically you have, and I don't know that it's developers doing this. It's probably flippers or people that are, different groups of people doing it. But you have their initial conversation or interaction with a landowner is all based on a lie. It's not real because they just hand wrote a letter, in air quotes here, hand wrote a letter and sent it to them, but it wasn't really them who wrote it. And so that drives me crazy right now.
Yeah, it feels very fake.
I have not heard of that yet, but of course, now that we're talking about it, I'm going to see a video about it later, showing me the warehouse of the robots writing that.
Yeah, that feels so not authentic.
Feels icky. Wild.
Like a lie, yeah.
Yeah. Who is your ideal client for Groov? Who are you guys looking for that you're like, oh, that was a good get?
Yeah, I mean, our focus is not necessarily on the massive developers. There's other products out there that are going to be better suited for them. We've always been really focused on, and it's probably because we're from a small, we're from a relatively small town, small community, but we focus more on the local and maybe regional developers. So, anybody out there who is using spreadsheets to largely track lot inventory or is maybe using Google Maps to go and try to find lots, I think our solutions that we have can help those groups and can get entire teams on the platform. I mean, we have people on the platform who are small companies with one person. It's a solo shop where they do everything themselves. We have people who have departments where, their acquisition group is using our platform, but the rest of their company maybe has other tools that they use. So it's not something where an entire company has to use our platform. There's departments can use it. Or if you're a smaller shop, you can get your entire team on it.
Am I right in assuming that your biggest competitors on the lot management side would be like the Pipsies and the Sicilians and all of that?
Yeah, I think Sicilian is a good one. They would probably be one of the bigger, but I think they largely, at least traditionally, they have targeted the big master plan community developers.
Yeah.
We haven't really done that. We've been more of the developers who are out there building. They may be phasing out their projects in 6 phases and delivering, 50 lots in this phase, 25 lots in this phase, maybe 75 in this phase. They're not going out and building a 3,000 or 5,000 lot community. So I think Sicilian is a good solution for those different providers. But yeah, some of the smaller groups that aren't doing those massive scale projects, they're more the types of developers that we've been closely working with.
That makes sense. And that's a good niche for y'all. If that's, I didn't make that connection before, that's really your target market.
So for your clients, how much time do you think you save them with Groov?
Yeah, this has been the big question. This has been
It's
the
like,
thing
how do you find the algorithm that
Give me
gives
some-
you that number?
Give us some data.
Yeah, so when we first started this was an important thing. So what's interesting is at the beginning of our company, we kind of operated like a traditional tech startup in that we went through an accelerator, and a big part of that was doing market research, understanding some of these things that at the time would be, well, how are you going to get investors interested in your company and all this stuff. What we had found, or what we got from some of the from our early customers, was they felt like, and this is on the lot management side. So on the lot management side, they felt like they were able to save some of their administrative staff who were doing a lot of these data updates and everything, up to like a day per week. And so we use that in a lot of our research. It depends though, because we're realistic and we know that there's times where lots aren't selling. And so when lots aren't selling, there's not as much to update any given week. But yeah, on weeks when they're actually, selling lots or repricing, needing to upload new PDF files to their website, that old model that they would follow, replacing that with what we've done was saving them quite a bit of time. But one thing I do want to add is that an even bigger issue that we were helping with was pricing mismatches, or the times where they were making pricing changes in their spreadsheet, but they weren't making it on their website. And then maybe they raised prices because the market was going that direction. And now on the website, you have a lower price than what it should be. Somebody reaches out, maybe it's $20,000, and you have a decision to make at that point. Do you honor the price on your website, or do you say, hey, that was the wrong price, and they think that you're just playing a game because now they think that you just lowered the price to get the phone call, and now you raise the price? Because that's been something that has been known to happen in the industry. And so that can ruin your reputation as well. So it's those things that we've really helped with as well that can be much, much bigger savings than just the time savings alone.
Yeah, for sure. That's a perfect transition too into, I kind of want to move over to the podcast side of your world. You are part of and I'm going to do air quotes for the listeners, the elite group of people in our industry that's definitely facing a bit of an uphill battle. And that battle is the lack of like more current technology use. And it's exactly what you're speaking to, right? All the issue you found is people were stuck in spreadsheets. How can we solve that problem? Same thing as the example you just gave. Prices are not updating on the website, but who in the world these days isn't looking on a website first before going to look at a product? So I imagine getting people to adopt Groov has been a little bit of a challenge. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it definitely has. And I think it kind of goes back to what I said earlier on about it's hard to beat spreadsheets. The minute that it's difficult for them to do something, people will always gravitate back to what they know. And in this case, it's spreadsheets. So early on, we would find that they were maintaining both the spreadsheet and using our software. And we're like, well, that's a problem. Like, because now you're basically doing things twice. And so
double work.
Right.
Yeah. And so a lot of it has to do with building that trust as well, because a lot of it is them thinking, well, if this loses my information, I still have my spreadsheet over here that I know. Other times it's that maybe our platform wasn't displaying the information in as good a way as a spreadsheet did. So they're trying to keep it in both spots. And those are things that as a software company, we have to uncover. We have to talk to people. And I think in software, the best way that we've been able to do that is not by asking, like, what do you think we need to do? Or what would you like to see in the platform? Software, the best way to do it is through more observation. Mm-hmm. And this goes back my whole life in technology. When you sit there and you ask somebody, you say, hey, show me how you do this. And then you just shut up. You don't say a word. That's different than asking somebody how they do it, because they'll tell you differently than how they actually do it. So observation has been key for us to understand how people are really using it, where they're running into problems, because they won't always tell you. And one of the bigger challenges we have is, there's a saying in Iowa, and I think you have this in a lot of Midwest states, but you have this Iowa nice motto or mantra.
Yes, I have heard that.
People don't want to give you constructive feedback. They just want to tell you what they think you want to hear, and they could hate your product, but they'll tell you, man, this is great. If you just had this feature, we would definitely sign up. And that's not true. They just don't want to hurt your feelings. But as software people, like, tell us the brutal, honest truth. It's not like, it's not our baby. It's like a product that's, you can tell us that it's ugly. That's fine. We don't care. And that's been, I think, the biggest challenge for us is getting people to be honest with us. And we've been pretty good at it. Like early days, it was tough, but we've understood how to adapt and ask the questions the right way.
What we say around here, Ryan, is clear is kind.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So is there one major theme that you've learned about land development since you started Groov?
Oh, I would say that there are still a lot of problems that need to be solved. And a lot of that probably has to do with us, operating in kind of narrow spaces within the industry. It's also, in technology, it's dangerous to be a squirrel chaser and go after every idea that seems like it's a big idea, because then you end up being like average at everything and good at nothing. You don't go deep enough into any one thing. But I mean, I feel like the biggest thing I hear from people is more around like City Hall and interactions with City Hall, whether it's the speed, whether it's the inconsistencies from city to city, whether it's even the inconsistencies from the code versus what is actually, approved. I think those are some of the biggest issues. Those are also some of the hardest things to solve, because these different cities do have autonomy. So you're not necessarily going to get somebody to come in with an iron fist and say anything. And that's obviously how our society is built, to give these different communities autonomy. If you don't like what a particular city or state is doing, you can move to another state or move to another city. So I think that's something that's hard sometimes for people to understand, because you just want, it's like, why can't everybody just do this the same? And it's like, yeah, but we're not really built like that as a country, or everything. But I get it. I get the frustration. I think that would be, if somebody could solve that problem, that would be a very valuable problem to solve.
Yeah, I think developers would pay a lot of money to have the problem solved.
Oh, yes.
You can chase after that one next.
Yeah. So, Ryan, you're an awesome host, so well-spoken. Again, we really enjoy the podcast. How did it come to be?
I mean, the reality of it is, and this goes actually right about the time when we started our land acquisition platform, we started thinking about, how could we market our product? And we're like, well, a podcast would be a good thing to do. We can set up a podcast and we can have conversations with experts and everything. That was the initial idea behind it. But what ended up happening is that we never once talked about our company. We didn't talk the entire first year. We didn't say a word about Groov at all. We did, 60 plus episodes, never said a word about Groov. And we got to the point where we started to realize that it was starting to grow and there was so much more value there that we just separated it from our company. And because a lot of times what you'll end up having with podcasts, you get a lot of brands that start podcasts. And I know you have your podcast, but you will get people, and especially when you're in I think it's different in software. When you're in software, sometimes people don't look at software and think that it's that it can be kind of icky and stuff like that. There's so many software companies, and we don't want to follow this podcast that's put on by a software company. So we said, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't want to either. So let's separate it. We'll have this podcast completely separate from our software. We'll run it separately. The only thing that our company does now with it is we just are a sponsor, just like we have other sponsors. So that's basically it. So what started out as a marketing idea for our software company really turned into more of us really trying to focus on how we can help the industry through just different conversations, getting ideas out there. And I think that's been probably the coolest part about it, is just having people reach out to you and send you messages, whether it's an aspiring developer that's, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. I'm going to be doing my first project here in the next few months. And you're just like, that's really cool to hear that.
Yeah. It's a great way for you to get a crash course too on the industry that you entered into.
Yes.
There's no better way to learn. I've learned so much from our podcast, just in who we speak to.
Did you always love the mic?
I mean, I don't mind it. Like I'm an introverted person when it comes to like in-person events and stuff, but I don't mind having conversations. I have done 2 different podcasts in the past, and one was around like family topics. I wrote a book back in 2019, and it was related to...
What doesn't this guy do? Oh my gosh.
What's this book?
Well, I wrote a book that was revolved around technology internships. And so that was like, at the time I was like, gosh, I have interviewed so many people for internships. I think I can help people, because a lot of these interns come into these roles just not understanding how to make the most of it. And I had always thought that internships were much more valuable than schoolwork. And so I wanted to focus on that. Well, I I wrote this book. I released it at the end of 2019. And then I had all sorts of plans for 2020. I was planning on going to all these different like book shows and things and having booths and everything set up. And then we know what happened in 2020. And that all just kind of died. But I did have a podcast wrapped around that where I was really focused on just career advice for students. But once that all just kind of died out because of just the environment we were in. And it's funny too, because we're 6 years later and I'll still get messages from, Amazon and other places that it still sells, it still sells to people. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Well, for anybody listening to this one who needs a new one, you should definitely check out the Land Development Podcast. You do a really good job. It's a mix of guest interviews and then like industry news segments. So when new legislation is released and all of that, you're really good about being timely and getting on that and kind of discussing those topics. What topics do you think your listeners resonate most with?
So we had stood up a new podcast platform about, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago, where we trying to build a little bit of a land development community from all of our listeners and everything. And we also had recorded some master classes that go a little bit deeper into topics. And it's just like people can create a free account and they can go out there and get access to it. But when people sign up, we do a short survey to ask them, because we want to know what are the topics people are really interested in. And the number one thing on that survey that people respond with is they want to hear lessons and stories from other developers. So that's number one. And then the second one is market analysis. And so that feeds right into exactly what our show is. And so it doesn't surprise me that that's what our the people who have signed up and joined us there, it doesn't surprise me that those are the top two things that they're really interested in, because that's exactly what we do with the show.
Yeah. Stories. It always comes back to stories.
Yes.
People
stories.
just want to hear stories.
Yep.
We hear that you love housing market data. What's your news source that you go to for that data?
There's a lot of different sources. I mean, every other week when we do an industry news episode, we're out there just looking for anything we can find. What's the most interesting thing? I don't necessarily have a single go-to source for it. We reference a lot of government data that's out there. Any data that we can get our hands on, we'll reference. I think Resi Club does a good job. So Resi Club, for those not familiar, Resi Club does a good job with their articles and making data available and everything. So they're a good group, and there's several other good groups out there. And we even, on our industry news episodes, we'll be talking. So my co-host on that, Charles Covey, he'll be talking and he'll say, we really should dig into this deeper. Like something will come up that we talk about. We don't have enough data to really analyze it. So we'll write it down. And we've actually started to go and do our own research on some of those different topics and publish some of those articles on our podcast website, as we've been thinking of things that we can't find out there, but where we can go get the data and do our own analysis with it. So we've put a few out there. The one big one that we did was we were having a conversation around around HUD, and like, where does all the money go? Like, where's all the money going? I mean, they get billions of dollars a year. Who's seeing that money? And so it's all public data. So we just went and grabbed the data, analyzed the data, and then we just, wrapped an article around it and put that on our website and everything. So I think we like to go after other sources, but there's a lot of free data out there that you can go and do yourself if you have the time. I mean, AI makes it a lot easier to do some of that analysis as well too.
And you do it in an entertaining way that people are willing to listen to. So you're really doing a service for everybody.
Absolutely.
Offering us the solutions that we're looking for. Well, cool, Ryan. I think we've sucked a lot of information out of you. And I was joking with Monica earlier. I was like, there's really not much out there on Ryan yet. Like, he hasn't been a guest on too many other podcasts. So we're really happy you joined us on Smith Lane and people get to learn a little bit more about you. Final question we ask every single guest. It's the name of our podcast. What is your Smith Lane, the place, the community, or street that shaped who you are?
I thought about this coming into it because, there's a lot of different places early in my life that had an influence. But I think where I'm at today, probably the biggest thing is, I would say my brother's company that I worked for right out of college, or right at the tail end of college and right out of college, probably had the biggest influence on my life, because it taught me entrepreneurship. It taught me that when you want to run a business by yourself, it's completely different than when you're working in a company in a specific role. Because when you're running a company by yourself, especially in the early days, you're responsible for putting food on the table. Like, you have to go out and get customers. They're not just going to show up. It's hard to understand, because when you do go work somewhere, say say you're starting out early and you work at a grocery store and you're bagging groceries and everything, you're not out there trying to get the people to come into the store. They just come into the store and it feels like magic. But
Right.
there's somebody who's doing something to get those people to come into that store. And so I think it really made me pretty hyper aware of that pretty early on in my career. And why it was important to me is because from that role, I did transition into more of a corporate job. And I did that for a number of years, but I still had these tentacles into entrepreneurship. And it was those early experiences that kind of kept me hungry and wanted to get back into it. And so probably from 2010 through, all the way through today, I've had some sort of business going on the side until eventually, my business partner and I, we started Groov and continued to go down that direction. But it's no different today. We're still responsible for finding people to use our platform. And sometimes you sit there, and I think all entrepreneurs think this way. It's like, you look in the mirror and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why do I torture myself like this, going and going through all this stuff? And, but yeah, there's something about it that just, I don't know. There's something about it that's just exciting.
I agree. Something is really exciting about it. I think about, owning, not managing the P&L, right? You're owning the whole P&L and, making sure that, paychecks are happening no matter what's happening on your P&L. Everybody's got to get paid. Everybody's got to, you just got to keep things rolling. A lot of responsibility that when I started 4 years ago that, I didn't have that experience. And then now, our first year, I was like, oh my gosh, this is heavy. Now we're 4 years in and I'm like, it's another payroll. It's just, it's just what it is. But it takes a long time to, to get that, your mindset right around it. And I would not trade it for anything in the world.
You guys are a special breed. I think it's a certain kind of crazy to start your own company.
Yeah.
People used to say that. I'm not anymore, but I used to be a triathlete and I completed an Ironman triathlon and people are like, you're a certain kind of insane to want to complete that.
Yeah.
You guys are also the same too for starting.
I'll start a business any day over a triathlon.
I'll take a triathlon over starting a company. Oh my gosh. Well, Ryan, This has been awesome. Thank you so much. And sneak peek, you should also check out the Land Development Podcast because we're going to have a podcast swap.
Yes.
With Monica.
Yes. Excited about that. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Great combo.